Hi everyone, it's Deborah. Welcome back to my channel, and I'm going to continue on with my doily quilt or my linen quilt or whatever you want to call it. I am going to do a join today. So what I've done is I've got some of the white fabric and cut a strip that's 2 inches wide by width of fabric. So I'll just open that up, 2 inches, and then just ironed it in half. And the plan is to sew it to one side. Now I'll cut the selvage off while I remember, otherwise I'll probably end up sewing that on and then I'll be cranky with myself for doing that. And put the edge here like this and sew that on. So let's go and do that first and then come back and I'll show you the second part of it. So because this is 1 inch wide, I'm going to use a 1/4 inch seam, and then I will use then when I fold that over, I should have that much to go on there. Yes, 1/4 and 1/4, yes, that'll be right. So I'm going to use a 1/4 inch seam. So I'll just pop and do that, and I'll cut a couple of them. Now, I'm not going to cut them exactly because sometimes when I'm sewing, if I get out of whack and they're exact, they won't line up. So I've got 3 out of that strip, and I'm just practicing, doing a bit of a trial and error on this, and I don't think it matters which way they go together really, but I'll just go and sew these, like these 3 together, and see, or sew the edges on these 3, and I'll come back. I've sewn these strip to one side of the front of the fabric, so the raw edge is facing the raw edge of the quilt block, and then I haven't, normally you would sew a piece on the back as well, and you would join your 2 backs together using that piece and then wrap this over the top, but I'm not going to do that until the end when I put the whole back on, and then I will sew again at that point. So let's just go and iron these first. Okay, so I've got one of them that's got the back on that I already did, which I'm just going to leave. It means it's going to have another piece of fabric over the top. It's not going to bother me, I won't worry about that. And then I've got these like this. So I've just sewn that on, as I said, and then I've ironed it to the right side like that. So it's now overlapping on that block there. And now the idea is that I will put them together. I need some pins. I know it'd be much easier if I had already, if I'd sewn the back piece on, which is the typical way to do it. I know that that would be much easier, but I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to have to do it the hard way. Maybe it won't be so hard. Oh, well, that doesn't want to go through. I think it might be easier if I turn it around this way though. And just, I'm butting them up against each other, the 2 raw edges there, and then putting a pin in them. And I'm not one for pinning, but in this instance I will pin. And you can see now that that's going to have a sash on it, basically. Let me do the other one. I'll just sew these in a strip, because when I come back and join the rows together, I will then get one long piece, so I won't have to do it individually like this. But it's important that I line them up properly. Now my 1/4 inch may not be fantastic, but it'll do. And I guess that because I've sewn it, it'll be consistent, whether it's 1/4 inch or a little bit more than 1/4 inch. For me it will be consistent, because it tends to be where I always put the machine to sew it. Put the foot against the fabric to sew it. And see that? I've now got 2 strips and a row of 3. So I'm going to go and sew these and bring it back and show you what that looks like. Now I just want to make sure I've got those at the right spot. If they're out by a little bit, like this one here, let me just get that in camera. See, that's out by about 1 millimeter. it's not, I don't think it's going to make a difference, because when the next piece comes and gets sewn across here, you're not really going to see that. And the other thing is that if this isn't perfectly the right width on each of the squares, again, I don't think you're going to notice that, particularly when it's, you know, on a bed or over a couch or something. I'll go sew and we'll have a look at that. There you go, I've sewn those on, and now I'll just trim the edges so we get the full effect. And that's kind of what the quilt's going to look like. Well, it won't, because it'll have another piece of white going along here, obviously, to join it all together. But what do you think? I think so far I'm really loving it. I've got more embellishment I want to do on these, particularly on something like here. And I can't really hang anything over the edges here, but I could hang them over the edge up here, because I haven't put anything on that. The other thing I wanted to show you was that piece that I love, which is, I don't want to cut, if I can find it. Here it is here. It's a bit crushed. But this one here, I'm going to sew it onto one piece like this, and then I'm going to overlap it onto the second piece. So I probably, because I'll be hiding the binding, going over the top of the binding, I will probably do that at the end, so that I can actually, you know, have it overlapping into the squares above and below it, just like it is, once it's all pressed up, and I'll starch it so it's really lovely. And it hasn't got any stains. Oh, it's got some little stains here on it. So, you know, I live with that, or I cover that up somehow, put something over the top of it, which I could, or even just fold it up maybe like that, cut that off. Yeah, I could do something like that. It is a little worn, but it's very, very old, so I don't think that, you know, I love that. Embrace the imperfections and just use it like it is. So that's the plan for this one. Now I could show you, now I've got my bits together, and I did run off the rails a little bit here too, so I've got some trimming to do there, and I'm not going to worry about that, honestly. Like, you know, if you want perfect, go to Maya and buy it. You know, don't or if there's a Maya still open in your area, go to David Jones, go to a, you know, Bed Bath and Table or whatever it's called, and buy it if you want perfect. But for me, I love the look of the vintage, and I just can tell already that I'm really going to love this quilt, particularly when I get a couple more on, like when these go on here. And it's going to come together quite easily, actually, because it's 11.5-inch squares. I think that it's going to, you know, really come together. Not in, you know, I won't have to have 100 squares, or maybe I will make 100 of them, I don't know yet, but I won't have to have heaps and heaps and heaps of them, because the block is quite a large block. If I did a 5-inch block or something, I think that might drive me a bit nutty. And also because I couldn't get the bigger images on like these things. So that is the plan. So I hope that you enjoyed that, and I will come back again and show you some more of what I've been doing, particularly after I've done a bit more embellishment on them, a bit of hand sewing. Perhaps I might sew my buttons on by hand, and also I need to drag out some more things. Like I could even put stuff, like I said before with that other one, I could put stuff over the binding itself if I wasn't happy with the binding. I've just noticed I've missed a bit of binding there. It's only about 1 inch long, so I'll definitely go and sew that down. But if I didn't want to, I could always just come along and pop a bit of lace across the binding like that. There's nothing says that each panel has to be separate, and plus when I'm using the other one, the morning tea one, it's going to go across 2 at least, maybe more. You know, maybe I could put the morning tea one in the middle of something, like in the middle of a block of 4, like that. Have a think about that. Okay, I've got some thoughts running through my head already. But yeah, I wouldn't have to have just that on there. The other thing I could do, of course, is I could run a bit of lace down the side of it here, if I have any issues with any of it, that's something to keep in mind, that I can always cover it, layer it and cover, you know, put some more covering on it. So that's it for now. So I hope you enjoyed that today, and I will catch you next time. This is Deborah. Cheers.